Well, good morning, everyone. Everybody battening down the hatches. Good morning, John. So glad you're here. I'm Leslie Flowers, and today is our third week of Think and Grow Rich, the experience, principles, leadership, and laws. So thank you for being here. And as you come into the room, let us know where you're calling from. John is coming from Chicago, and it's going to be chilly, and I will sing you a song right around the time of World War II. And remember, this book, Think and Grow Rich, was written 100 years ago. And so Napoleon Hill and his wife and family and all our citizens were all caught up in World War II. And this is one of the songs that they sang. So come on in and enjoy the music. Excuse me. Gonna take a sentimental journey, gonna set my heart at ease, gonna make a sentimental journey to renewed old memories. Got my bag, got my reservation, spent each dime I could afford, like a child in wild anticipation. Long to hear that all aboard. 7, that's the time we leave at 7. I'll be waiting up for heaven, counting every mile of a railroad track. It takes me back. Never thought my heart could be so yearny. When did I decide to roam? Gonna take that sentimental journey home. This is what your grandparents listened to. Maybe your parents, if you're like mine. Gonna take a sentimental journey, gonna get my heart at ease, gonna make a sentimental journey to renew old memories. 7, that's the time we're leaving, it's 7. I'll be waiting up for heaven, counting every mile of a railroad track. It takes me back. Never thought my heart could be so yearny. When did I decide to roam? Gonna take that sentimental journey home. Sentimental journey home. Yeah. Hi, everybody. That is a song that Doris Day used to sing. She was very popular at that time. So good morning. Good morning. I'm Leslie Flowers. This is Think and Grow Rich, Leadership, Principles, Leadership, and Laws. So I've just added those 3, and I wanted to say welcome to everybody. This is really exciting because today we're moving into desire. We spent 2 weeks on definite purpose in the introduction because it's vital that you get this first. It's like you have to crawl before you walk. So the introduction was crawling. Now, Think and Grow Rich was written 100 years ago, and it's still the number 2 bestseller of all time, second only to the New Testament, which has been around a lot longer than 100 years. So understand that many, many, many businesses have followed this exact blueprint. For me, I came in touch with it early in 2008, and I have taught it every week since that time, over 20,000 hours. I've conducted 65 business quarters with the training I'm now sharing with you, most of it, okay? And it will help you define exactly how to have a definite purpose and how to have one that's so compelling that any fear that you have, which would be normal, takes a back seat to what it is you're doing. So there are some ways of thinking about things that may be a little different than what you're used to. And sometimes things will be confusing, but other times you'll have moments of clarity during these trainings. And this is heavy content rich. So this feeds you up, right? It fills you up with beautiful concepts that have been proven. Personally, I've used this program that I'm sharing with you over 18 years, 65 business quarters or cohorts or mastermind studies over 12 weeks, regardless of what kind of business you're in, corporate, franchise, entrepreneurship, doesn't matter. And 500 goals were achieved by clients across the board during those sessions based on the training I'm sharing with you right now. So sit back and enjoy, and let me say hello to everyone. I've sent you a few notes this morning, and yes, John Werner is here. Good morning, John. So glad you're here. I've extended this to noon so that I can make sure to acknowledge you, but I will stop early if I finish early, because my intention was 45 minutes, but it was eking to 50. So I'm giving myself some leeway, but still want to hold myself to 11:50, so that you have time and a break between this and whatever you're doing next. Hello, Steve Deering. So glad you're here. I'm not sure we've met before. I'm honored that you're here. And I hope you love Think and Grow Rich, and you'll enjoy what you'll be learning today. And I will review the first couple of weeks. So this is our third week. And there is a wonderful Lauren Benberry. Hi, she's out in San Diego. Steve Deering is in Tampa. You guys have still got the warm weather. I am in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, and we are battening down the hatches. Okay, so I got some logs that burn for 4 to 6 hours just in case. We are in the path, but it's more going to be ice that easily brings down electricity. So we're all ready to go. It should happen to us overnight Saturday night in North Carolina. And here is Meryl Cass. Good morning, Meryl. It's so good to see you. You're in Paramus. Oh, you're supposed to have 8 to 14 inches Sunday into Monday. Oh, with sub-zero wind chill factors. Okay. Let's just pray that everybody gets to stay warm, and the food should be okay in the fridge for a couple of days. It's cold. You can put your stuff outside on the porch, actually, anything that you think might go bad. Let's see who else is here. Adrian is here. Hi, Adrian. You're up in New York, so you must be getting ready, right, for another typical January. This is unusual for North Carolina, but I know you're used to it. And Adrian is a wonderful supporter of professional development and learning in general, and lives on LinkedIn. She loves poetry, and she works in data entry with computers. So what a perfect balance, right, Adrian, between poetry and computers. Sounds like it works. I'm so glad you like this song, Adrian. Oh, I'm so glad. Do you guys remember your grandparents playing this song? Are you old enough to hear your grandparents playing it on a hi-fi and a 33 RPMs? That's revolutions per minute on the turntable. Hello, Jordan. So glad to see you here. Thank you for joining from YouTube. We're here every Friday, 11 a.m., studying, deep study into Think and Grow Rich. But one of my specialties is the ability to articulate complex concepts in very simple form. So the advantage of teaching this for so long is I know what you need to hear. And I'm very good at saying it in such a way that it can land without triggering you in any way, right? So this is for you to consider, to add what you already know. It's not to take the place of. So there is Sharon Rose. Good morning, Sharon. How are you? Sharon, you're a couple hours earlier out in Phoenix, I believe. And I saw Omar was here too. Omar is out in Phoenix. So again, 2 hours early. Thank you so much for being here. It's Friday morning. Yay. And here's Linda Meyer. Linda's a recently certified coach, and her specialty is earmarking those narcissistic patterns. How you get over it, how you get through it, how do you get under it, how do you get out of it, right? As I've told Linda many times, I wish that I had known her 30, 40 years ago. It would have saved me a lot of aggravation. But now she's out there helping you. That's the most important thing. Aha, Leanna, good morning. You're in Duluth, minus 33. Okay, quick question. Convert that into Celsius without using your computer. Thank you for being here, Leanna. Brr. And there's Kimberly. Hi, Kimberly Lechnick. She's here from Chicago, and I'm so glad to see you. I know you've got some weather coming, and you're also used to it, but that doesn't make it any easier, right? So glad you're here, calling in from YouTube. Love it, love it, love it. The first few minutes, I acknowledge all of you for being here. And you may wonder why, but for myself, I live by myself. And sometimes I don't talk to a lot of people each day. There are a lot of people out there that don't have anybody to acknowledge them. And one thing's for sure, when you say something nice about me, it's always said much better than I might say it about myself. So this is how you show up for me. And I'm so glad you're here. Yes, Sharon Rose. Yes, yes. I believe it. EGADS is a technical term. Yes, I think that's true. And Lisa Fevick is here. She's a registered dietitian every Tuesday afternoon, every other week, 5 p.m. Eastern. She has a live show, Metamorphosis Dialogues, where she discusses how food and what we eat and our physical, taking care of ourselves, can help alleviate a lot of the symptoms that women experience during the years of menopause, or your partner experiences it. Because if you have menopause and you live with anybody else, they should be clued in. So Lisa, thanks for being here. I'm so glad you're here. And oh, look at my wonderful friend, Erin Gibson is here from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. That is right. Alberta is the one, right? And it's the same province with Banff and Lake Louise. Correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, okay, so where are you? Let's see, you were in Windsor, Ontario, and you came into the United States. And there's a brave, wonderful Canadian. Thank you for coming in. I hope that nobody bothered with you when you were here. And if you guys come to Mind Over Matter Mondays at 11 a.m. Monday, you will see Eastern, the intro that was created by Soul Media Live Productions and Erin Gibson. So if you have a show and you love an intro or an outro, all you have to do is check in with Erin. He'll be able to create that for you, and he does a splendid job. It's minus 30 degrees, minus 36 degrees. All right, let's see who else is here. Aye, my lady. Okay, so it is the right province. Okay, well, we'll have a lot of people coming in, so strap in, everybody. Here we go. Let me see if I can get this quite right here. All right. So today we're in week 3 of this study. We're going into Think and Grow Rich, the Principles of Success, Leadership Lessons and Universal Laws from my 2014 bestseller, In Women in Business Champion, 21st Century Women, Guardians of Wealth and Legacy. Now, I wrote that in 2014 when I was 6 years in teaching, and now I'm at 18. So a lot has been learned, which I will share with you. And let us be sure to, I want you to say hello when she comes in. The sponsor of this show is Nicole Angai Galindo, who is the president and CEO and founder of Guiding Brilliant Writers Publishing House. And they have a brand new collaborative book, an anthology created right now. It's part 2 of We Are More Than Our Diagnoses. These are people like you and me that have diagnoses, and we've overcome it. So while society kind of looks at us as outside the norm when you have a diagnosis, my belief is that the diagnoses we have are like any virus. They grow pretty quickly depending on who you're with. So that means to me that everybody is a little neurodivergent. Everybody has their moments of ADHD. Not to belittle those who are dealing with this, but to know that we have our moments like that too. And none of it is static, like you're not stuck in one place. You can heal. You can get better if you so choose. And when you choose, when you are ready, you will know when you're ready. No one can convince you that you're ready to take a scary step into what it takes to build muscles of greatness. And today, one of the stories I'm going to share with you is how to look at these neurodivergencies, these diagnoses, as an advantage. You have a choice. You can look at it the way society looks at it, and probably most people do, or you can intentionally choose it to be an advantage. And you'll hear a story today about that very point. So if you've always wanted to write a book, this is the best way to do it. It's one chapter and it's your story. And all you have to do is email Nick, the GBW, G, George, B, boy, W, William, at gmail.com. Okay. Thank you, Nick, for being our sponsor. Now, we start each week reading the mantras. We're generating these mantras. We're using auto-suggestion, self-suggestion, call it brainwashing, call it Stockholm. We learn in spaced, repetitive intervals over time. By repeating these mantras, generating them for yourself where you are, in your head or out loud, you will raise your vibration, and this will build character week after week. All right, so I'm going to generate this. You generate it too. And let me say hello first to the wonderful Ashif Haji, strapped indoors. Ashif is in Toronto. I hope you have plenty of hot chocolate, coffee, and anything else that warms your innards. Let's see what Sharon Rose says. Is coming next month in Phoenix. I have room for rent for anyone interested in going from gloom to bloom. Oh, I hope it's first come, first serve. That sounds wonderful. That sounds wonderful. And here's our drone gal. This is Leigh Scheidel out in California. And she usually comes in on YouTube. So glad that you are here. So here we go. Now you can read these, I trust, so you can make your screen bigger, but I'm going to generate them for you. And you generate them in present tense as an intention. It's a very simple exercise, but your words and the way you feel about generating these words as though you already are doing these things you intend to is what actually suppresses the information into your subconscious mind. Just like our fears are and our faith are suppressed or impressed into the subconscious mind through repetition, this works too. So here we go. And do this quietly or by yourself. No one's around. Do it out loud and do it like you wrote these. I am my word. I treat every agreement, including those with myself, as I would an appointment with my most trusted and valuable client or colleague. I am proactive. I am the one to make sure my scheduled calls are held on time, even if another person said they would initiate the call. I am disciplined. I complete all tasks, no matter how small. If I miss one, I complete it within 24 hours. I am focused. I do not allow an interrupt in my plans based on my values unless there is an emergency that only I can manage. Then I reset the original plan. I am motivated. I show up hungry and eager and present, even if I don't want to that day or I don't feel like it. I am trusted. I maintain strict confidence with the private information I learn in dialogue with business connections, families, and friends. And I am the mirror of your greatness. I understand that the level of greatness I see in others is in exact proportion to my own. Searching for another's greatness expands my own. All right. All right. Islam Gouda is here. Hi, Islam. Mr. Marketing, wonderful. He's going to help me, and I know he thinks I'm not going to reach out to him, but you're on my mind every day, Islam. So this is going to be the week, okay? I have to get my thoughts together. And there's William Rochelle, and you can call him Bill if you get to know him. Otherwise, keep it William, right, William? He's in Florida, so not so worried today about all the ice, right? Lucky for you, or fortunate for you, not luck. I don't believe in luck. There's a lesson in every failure on the other side, everyone, every time. Hello, Mark. Mark through Mars calling in from India. How are you? It's got to be about tea time where you are, right? For sure. All right. Let's see. Sharon Rose says she's still getting her Airbnb stuff together. All right. Oops. Hold on a second. Let me go back here. I hit the wrong thing. There we go. Okay. All right. So we've taken care of that. Let's move on. All right. So we can get this more like this now. All right. So this is the roadmap, right? And you've seen this before. I've been doing this for over 2 years, and I am intent on you getting to know what I know, because I have created a most amazing life. It's not perfect. And it has ups and downs based on the universal laws. It does. But I've learned to look up very quickly when there's a down. I know, based on the law of polarity, that for every low, there is a matching high. I just don't know exactly when it's going to happen. So I better be looking up for people and opportunities that are showing up on my path that we might have looked at as a coincidence, but there are none. Trust me when I tell you that when people show up to help you toward what you're working on, it is not a coincidence. You are cause in the matter. What you want is already moving toward you at the same velocity or amplitude of cellular vibration that you are moving toward it. You don't have to understand all of that just to know that you reap what you sow, right? It's cause and effect. It's karma. You don't have to know exactly how everything works because you've seen the evidence with your own eyes. So this week, or last 2 weeks, we talked about definite purpose, which is in the introduction. Vital. You must crawl before you walk. So do not continue unless you've got definite purpose nailed. It's pretty simple, actually. It's one thing, and that in itself will retrain you, because we're so used to doing 22 things at once or trying to do them all and getting very little done, if anything. Thank you, Lauren, for being in touch. All right. So this week we're into desire. This is the starting point of all achievement. This is the first principle of success. So Think and Grow Rich came up, Napoleon Hill, with the 13 principles of success. And this man went to work for Andrew Carnegie, the richest man in the world, 100 years ago, for no money. And his job was to spend the next 20 years in research, interviewing 500 and more than that, but 500 successful U.S. citizens repeatedly to find out what did they do that the rest of us have missed, provided that these 500 people are living lives of wealth, health, and happiness, not unhealthy and wealthy, not happy and broke, right? All three. So these are people that are living life by design. What was it? So would you go to work for someone for 20 years without being paid? Most of us wouldn't. But of course, he became a millionaire because the connections that Andrew Carnegie put him with to interview multiple times over the 20-year period were the right connections to make plenty of money, right? So that's actually what happened. So this week we are now ready to get on to desire, the starting point of all achievement. Then next week we'll do faith. And this is linear in the sense that you do want to understand purpose first. Okay, I'm reading the comments too. Let me I think I can turn this on. Yeah, I do like to try to show your comments. Absolutely. It's important to me and to communicate with you this way. So as you can see, over the next 12 weeks, we're going to be running through everything, but it's all based. The train doesn't pull out of the station until you've gotten past the introduction, hence why we had it for 2 weeks. Now, let's get into what we did. A little review. Last week, we are adding to Think and Grow Rich, leadership and laws. And most all of the content comes from my 2014 bestseller in Women in Business Champion, 21st Century Women Guardians of Wealth and Legacy. And it covers a whole host of topics and all these principles. So in my 18 years and 65 cohorts, I also taught Champion. So Champion was written as a guide or a complement to Think and Grow Rich, but 21st century rather than 20th century, right? Sorry. So last week we talked a little bit about setting goals, the process using visualization, and then we talked about 7 keys to having an accountability partner. Now, in this book, I go deeply into how to choose accountability partner, what are the benefits for it, etc. And then also the basic process of visualizing and dreaming and picturing the goal you want, so that we just scratched the surface on goal setting. And that's what we covered last week. All right, let's see. And be sure to ask any questions. Okay. The first thing we want to take a look at is the actions that turn the thing you want, your goal, the desire, into riches, money. So let's get clear about one thing here. This is not about the love of money, but the reality is that money is a tool, as you know, but it's tied very often to the fear of poverty. There's not enough for me. And that's a real fear because we've all experienced it. So we have to outweigh that fear through practice because it's well installed. We can't afford it till the taxes come in. Your brother needs shoes first. That message through repetition, which is auto-suggestion, is deeply embedded. So to change what you want into riches that will pay for the goal, all right, it's not really the money, it's the money required to have the impact that you want to have. And you can do it just with money and then decide. You can have money as a goal, but typically you have maybe a large philanthropic goal. And, ultimately, let's say you want more clients or you want a new job, right? You may have an investment, right, in getting new clients and retaining them, in working with a recruiter. So it could be about the money, right? But we want to make sure that it's going to make an impact on you and others. So fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire for whatever this definite purpose is. Now, you don't know how to do this thing yet. So you don't know how much it's going to cost. Pick a large number that will give you chill bumps. Cross the line. Pick a large amount of money. Now, don't pick $2 million in 2 weeks, because you cannot violate the rights of others. Therefore, you cannot rob a bank. Okay. So, but honestly, let's say I want, by the June of 2027, I want a beach house in North Carolina, right on the ocean. So I don't know what it's going to cost. But when I fix in my mind the amount of money I want, I'm picking $750,000. I've never had that much money. I have no clue how I'm going to get it, but I know it's enough to get that house. So I'm picturing already having it. It's now May of 2027, and my bank account says $752,000, $410.05. That's exciting. It's thrilling. It gets all your senses going, and it raises your cellular vibration to love, to kindness, to feeling good. All right, then you have to decide, what are you going to do in return? Okay, what will you do in return? You really don't expect to sit back and expect the universe to deliver me $750,000 without doing anything, especially since I don't know how to do it. I'm going to have to rely on other people. What am I going to give in return? What are you doing for the world? You're working, you're coaching, you're learning, you're working in corporate to impact customer service. You're doing something that's valuable in return. Then you have to establish a definite date by which you're going to possess this amount of money for this thing. But I don't know, Leslie. Set the date. So let's say, for example, that you want a new job and you set a 12-week goal. Okay, so, and you don't know what recruiters charge yet. So what I want to see at the end of the 12 weeks, however I'm going to do that, if I'm working on investing money or generating income, right? I have to figure out if it's going to cost something. And then again, guess what it is. Maybe it's $2,000. Maybe it's $3,000. I haven't used a recruiter in years. That could be your goal. You don't start off with saying that this is my goal to get a job in 90 days. There's usually things that have to be done to lay the groundwork. Okay, then you want to create a definite plan. And that plan is only 2 steps. So one of the things you don't want to do is set the plan from start to finish, because that would mean that you're setting the plan at this current level of awareness, but when you walk out of here, you'll know more. And if you stick to the plan you create now, you won't be aware of people and opportunities that were already on their way to you. They'll walk right by, because you'll be grappling with, well, how come this milestone didn't happen? Oh, I've got to get this milestone. So the rule of thumb is, the definite plan is to take 2 steps in the direction of your goal. What happens there is the biggest fear you'll ever have is in that moment, when you go to do something monumental that you don't know how to do, or you failed at, and you talk yourself out of it. Your old fears say, Leslie, you failed so many times. Let someone else stick their neck out. Why don't you? You don't need to be the one. But the greatest inventions and things to feed mankind that have been done were done without knowing how, because faith was stronger than the fear. Only one pervasive thought will dominate. And right now it's our fears in general. So we're working to be very clear about why we're doing what we're doing. What difference will it make? We've got a plan. We're willing to give something in return. We're setting a certain amount of money, and we're picking a due date. Now we're going to write out a clear, concise statement of the result as though you've already done it. Okay, so now it is June 2027, and I'm walking around inside my beach house. My feet are sticking to the tacky floor. They've just shellacked the floor and the doors are open. So there's a modest amount of moisture coming in. And oh, look, a seagull pooped on the deck. My family's coming, so I better clean that up. This presence in the future, standing in the future as though it's happening right now, gives your cells a jolt. You see, mind and thinking is a cellular activity. It's not the brain. And so when you feel really good when you're in love, it's because researchers show, Brody and Lipton, that what you think the most and its vibration translates into your physical body. And it also rewires your brain. So a lot of people seem to think that the brain is in charge, but it really isn't. Conventional teaching does not teach about mind. So you have a whole slew of practitioners who do not know about mind because it's not yet in the curriculum in universities. So you have very well-educated people calling the mind brain when they're two completely different things. It's simply a lack of knowledge. And some people with degrees are resistant because they're more interested in being right rather than being open to see what else is there that they can share to make life better for other people. So you write out this clear, concise statement, and then you read that written statement when you wake up in the morning and before you go to bed at night. So not only did you write it, but now you're reading it and generating the way we did the mantras, okay? So those are the actions that will begin to change your desire for this one thing that you want into riches. Now, there's a lot more coming in, okay, on these subjects. This is just you're just getting a taste of leadership and laws. And let's see. The mind does not know the difference between real and imagine. So imagine becomes real. Exactly. The subconscious mind only accepts what you send to it intentionally, pervasively, what you think pervasively, on purpose or by default. So if you're wondering how people believe very differently than you do as far as politics, and you're sure you're right, and you're sure they're wrong, and they're sure they're right? So it's what you're listening to, what you're feeding your mind with, whatever is the most pervasive and consistent, and the way you feel. So if you spend a lot of time looking at the negative in politics, you're going to believe that and feel lousy too. People are upsetting themselves. Now, you do need to know what's going on. And I've always maintained this practice because I have clients all over the world. So it is important to be aware of what other people are going through. But it doesn't mean that you have to take it on seriously. And empaths are very judicious about this because they are very easily swayed and impressed through vibration. And there is our wonderful Sean. Hi, Sean. I'm so glad you're here. It's so good to see you. And I saw something. Hold on a second that I wanted to share. Oh, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Sandra. Oh, wonderful. She's a guest teacher on Mind Over Matter Mondays, and she is an NLP therapist, a hypnotherapist, and a best-selling international author. Desire isn't wishful thinking. It's a decision backed by commitment. Excited to explore how intention turns into momentum. And there's our wonderful, thank you, Sandra, our wonderful Catherine Chadwick. So happy that you're here. Catherine is another guest teacher on Mind Over Matter Mondays, and she'll be in pretty soon, coming up in the next couple of weeks. Desire is like dropping a pin. The plan is navigation routes and constantly changing obstacles, detours, delays, and blockers. Focus on the pin. That's right. And while you're not focusing on the obstacles, detours, and delays, you can be looking up for the person that shows up with the exact answer you've been looking for, because you're open and present to it and you attracted it anyway. But if you're thinking about the obstacles and the detours, as I pointed out, and as Sharon Rose so beautifully articulates, your mind is going to be on that. which is negative, and those people will walk right by. All right. Now, in the interest of time, okay, so I want to go over briefly the 3 lessons from the introduction. From definite purpose. Remember, you've got to get these lessons in order to employ this roadmap. Hello, 𝗙𝗏𝗘𝗚𝗓𝗙, welcome. So the first lesson we talked about in week 1 was Edwin Barnes deciding that he wanted to be a partner with Thomas Edison. This is 100 years ago. Thomas Edison was a great inventor. This guy, Edwin Barnes, didn't have a pot to piddle in, didn't know. Edison couldn't afford a ticket, but he had a definite purpose. And he wouldn't let anything stand in his way. So he didn't know Edison. He didn't care. He didn't have any money. He hopped a freight train and rode blind baggage. On the way, what he said to himself, and this is part of the lesson, is, I will go into business with Thomas Edison. I am the one, no matter how long it takes. He will hire me. Notice that he's not saying, I wish. And he's also picturing himself already in business with Edison, however he creates that in his mind. So it's in present tense. He arrives at Edison's door looking like a vagrant. Most of us would give him food or shoo him away. But Edison tells a friend later on that he could tell in his eyes that he had definite purpose. And Edison indeed did hire him. But remember, he worked 5 years before the opportunity came with the Ennophone. And because he visualized himself being in business already with Edison every day, he kept it top of mind. He kept his vibration high, and he felt really good. And so when the opportunity came, it looked like it came out of the blue, but it didn't. He went into business with Edison. Every Ediphone, which is the precursor to the dictaphone, was inscribed with manufactured by Edison, installed by Barnes. The next story is the 50-cent lesson in persistence. This is a story where R.U. Darby and his uncle are talking in the old mill 100 years ago, and his uncle had tenant farmers, and they were talking in the mill, getting ready to deposit grain, to do some grinding, whatever it is they do. And the door opens and there's a little girl standing in the door. And all of a sudden his uncle looks up and says, "What are you doing here? What do you want?" She said, "My mammy said, give me 50 cents. And he looked at her and he said, "Go on, get out of here. I'm not giving you 50 cents. And she said, "Yes, sir." But she didn't move. A little while later, he sees her still standing there. He picks up a barrel stave and starts approaching her. "I told you to get out of here." Now you realize 100 years ago, this could have been very serious, right? He could have killed her if he wanted to. But anyway, it interrupted him, and he's approaching her, and he stops right in front of her and says, "I told you to get out of here." "Yes, sir. My mammy said, give me 50 cents. And she took a step toward him. There was a pause, and he reached in his pocket and pulled out the 50 cents. And she carefully backed out, not taking her eyes off of him, to get the heck out of there, right, and away from that barrel stave. And he spent months figuring out, how did that child disarm him? Okay, good. I'm glad I pushed this to noon. Okay. And then the third one, again, R.U. Darby. R.U. Darby decides to get involved in the gold rush in Colorado. And he goes out there with his pick and shovel, and he's doing really well. And he's taking some things to the smelter, and it looks really good. So he covers up the mine and goes home to collect money for big machinery, which everybody loans him money, his family. And he sets up the machinery and he starts pumping and drilling, and out comes the gold. And pretty soon it was getting close to everything being paid back. And he's thinking, oh my gosh, as soon as we're paid back with everything, then the real money comes in. And something happened. The gold vein stopped. And they continued to drill and drill and drill. And then through frustration, a decision was made to quit. So they found the junk man on the site. sold all the equipment for a few $100s to him. And don't worry, R.U. Darby paid all that back, all of it. It took years, but he did. And he did. But the junk man knew to seek specialized knowledge. And there was a geologist on site who said, well, they didn't know about fault lines in exactly 3 feet. The gold vein will pick up. And so it did. And so R.U. Darby learned that lesson and never gave up. And he became one of the top insurance salesmen, selling over $1 million a year, only 50 in the United States, because every time someone said no, he pictured that little girl, how she would not take no for an answer. All right. So those are the 3 lessons. All right. And here's Nicole. Hi, Nicole, our sponsor. So glad you're here, my friend. All right. Let's go on. All right. Now the story for this week in desire. This is the next thing to get, that how you turn your desire into a burning desire. And I reread this story again, but I think I can tell it to you pretty quickly here. Look at the time. Yeah, we're doing good. Okay, so Napoleon Hill and his wife have a child that's born without any ears. The doctor said that child will be deaf and dumb for its entire life. Put him in a special school. And Napoleon Hill said, and his wife, they would never do that. He set about using what he had been writing about to outwit Mother Nature, that his child would hear and speak. He disagreed with the physicians, and he had a right to do that. And he began raising this child, teaching him that it was an advantage to not be able to hear and speak. And that followed through by the mother talking to the teachers, and so he got to sit up front. This is what he taught his son, never to look at it as a disadvantage, but an advantage. All this was done in his head. He would tell stories to this child, and he did have a bit of hearing. And so that's when Napoleon Hill knew that if he had a bit of hearing, then he could reverse it. But when the child was 6 years old, there was a surgery done on one ear, and the physician said, there is no apparatus, period, the end. But they didn't know about the conduction of mastoid and vibration at the time at all. But Napoleon Hill knew that if he could hear even a little bit or speak even a little bit, that it could get better. And then one day they got a Victrola. And this was the big shocker. And there's that picture, a record player. And they found that their son really gravitated toward that. And they would find him listening to records over and over again with his teeth clamped around the edge of the case like this. So when it played, the vibration, we get this now, actually caused the sensation with the mastoid bone. So he did that a lot through practice. And then when he was in high school, he was given an electronic device somehow for hearing, and it just didn't work. So it was really depressing. And so when he was in college, someone had sent him an apparatus, a newer apparatus. So this was some years later. He was very reluctant to try it because of his experience before. That's the fear of failure, fear of criticism, judgment. If I do this, I'm going to fail again, so I better just not do it. I had the same thing recently. I will tell you, I've got some pretty good news. So my bestseller, Errata, has been on hiatus. The next books, out of fear and punishment and the fear of criticism. And it's only just recently, this week actually, that I had a breakthrough by connecting with an accountability partner to write with. And you know what I discovered? The only one I was punishing was you. because you won't hear about 865 Kiev, Russia, 1200 years before errata, if I don't write it. And the only one I was punishing was myself. So the good news is pretty much the whole book is already written. I had forgotten how far I had gotten last year. So the idea here is and so what happened with this child, when he finally did try, it was in his senior year of college, when he did wear this new apparatus, he could hear almost as good as anybody else, and he could speak. But his definite purpose still wasn't derived for this lifetime of going against the grain, that the diagnosis would change his life and make it less than, while his parents were making the way for him to see that it was an advantage, which it always ended up being, because the law of polarity says you both have a disadvantage and advantage. Which one are you looking for? So everything good that happened, they looked at as an advantage. Then one day he had an inspiration. And that was that he would spend the rest of his life helping thousands and thousands of people around the world learn, who were deaf and dumb, learn to speak and hear. And he created a new curriculum and invited his father to a presentation by the company he went to work for. And he achieved a wonderful position based on his plan to teach people who couldn't see, speak, or hear to do both. So Napoleon Hill then realized that he was able to outwit Mother Nature. He was able to go against what the doctors said. He was able, with his own mind and his own thoughts and his own solutions, to instill in his son that it was an advantage for him. And they, by the way, they never would let him go to school where he learned sign language. They made him go to regular school. But the mother went and got him to sit up front where he could hear a little better, right? So sort of greasing the squeaky wheel. So that's this story that you want to remember. Very important, okay? You can do this. And that is burning desire. Nothing got in Napoleon Hill's way for over 18 years until, well, he was about 23 or 24 when maybe he was 22 is when it all came to fruition. So the law of gestation says that you will manifest what you want when the universe decides. Now you want to pick a date because it's exciting to pick a date and imagine it. But in reality, it may not be the exact date, but it will keep you motivated and inspired at the right vibration. Now, I want to play you this because I told you that errata is coming back. And this song I wrote. Aaron Gibson created the trailer. This is a shorter trailer. And so it was all done through desire. And so I'm going to play it for you, she said. And here are the song, the words. I don't know if you can hear me now. But I'm going to sing along with it just in case. And it may not work. What kind of love can transcend time in a breath and feel as fresh as the sun's morning dew? A love that lives forever in between the spaces of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. All at once and forever. Safe among the folds of warm inspiration and obsessive lightness, Two hearts swim through eons of time, one with wings and other with vision of a place and space where life is honored and entwined together. Connect forever when achieving nirvana, the soft space for Lee and Van star-crossed lovers, enough never love of life over time and forever. Okay, I stopped it because time is getting away with us. But you can go back and watch this at any time and know that it was all created out of a burning desire. This book was started 25 years ago. Who happened along my way a few years ago or 2 years ago? Aaron Gibson. Who knew he was a visionary? Who knew that we would have like this Vulcan mind meld and create this thing? My dream was to be 17 again and be the star. And Aaron made me the star. So when you visualize, pretty much anything is possible. For next week, you want to be reading or listening to, as a suggestion, faith, which is visualization and belief in the attainment of desire. So now we're going to build faith on the attainment of desire. And take a look. Does your goal meet the attributes of having one definite purpose yet? Have you thought about who might be a good accountability partner for you as you go through working toward this goal? And I suggest that you listen to this again in the middle of the week, and you can scroll through the beginning when I acknowledge everybody and just go right to the meat. Okay. Next Monday, I'm excited to share with you that our guest teacher at Mind Over Matter Mondays will be 𝗙𝗪𝗘. We'll be talking about accountability. Doesn't that sound exciting? I'm really thrilled to have 𝗙𝗪. He's a wonderful, wonderful friend and lots to teach us. Now, let's have a very short meditation to lock in the lessons for today. When we hit the world, we want certain things to remain embedded in our memory. So I will read this to you. Let's see if I can do this properly here. Yeah. Okay. Are you ready, everybody? Okay, everybody sit back and nice and quiet. This is simple and calm, and it's designed to strengthen memory consolidation and nothing clinical. So first take a nice, settle in, a nice, deep, slow breath in through your nose. And a very long breath, exhale. Let your attention gather, not forced, just gently collected, like light focusing through a lens. Picture in your mind as a library. Imagine walking into a quiet, sunlit library. Shelves stretch upward, filled with ideas you've learned. Ahead of you is a clear wooden table with a single open space reserved for what you want to remember today. Place the concept on the table. Bring the idea or concept that you want to remember into your mind. Visualize it as an object, whatever shape feels natural, and place it gently on the table. Notice its texture, color, its weight. Let it feel important and familiar to you. Now, imagine a soft glow forming around the object. This glow represents why the concept matters, how it connects to your goals, your curiosity, or your growth. The glow strengthens as you acknowledge its values. Pick up the glowing object and walk it to a shelf labeled useful knowledge and slide it into place. As it settles, imagine a quiet click, your mind's way of locking it in. Now we will return with clarity. Take one more slow breath in through your nose, out through your mouth slowly, longer, 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 longer. Feel your attention return to the room around you. Carry the sense that the concept is now organized, accessible, and ready when you need it. All right, my friends. With that, we have completed week 3. I am thrilled that you're here. Thank you, Catherine. I'm so glad. Yes, Felipe will be here Monday. All right, everyone. I'm going to close down. Have a beautiful weekend. Batten down the hatches. Send white light and angel wings to people that are going to be cold, right? And pray for warmth for them. Picture them already being warm. And with that, I wish you all well. I'm deeply grateful that you're here and that you're going to walk away knowing much more than you did when you started. That's my goal and my intention. Take care.